Everything I'm thinking, on everything I'm talking. I hear I push it often. I don't care, I got my team on the truck for the dolphin. I turn your bitch to a fiend. Up to my good I'm free. Sometimes I can't explain, I can't explain, cannot blame. Sometimes I gotta change, you can count my pocket change. You know what it is, you're really fucking.
Been a beautiful day today. All right, guys, subscribe to the channel. It's the reason why I'm in the dark tonight. It's the reason why I'm in the dark. Here we go, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Like the content. Let's get busy. All right, let's get with it, man. Let's get with it. Let's get with it. Hey, listen, straight up. I honestly, don't know exactly. We were talking about our Cowboy fans. And first and foremost, there's a reason why I'm in the dark right now. There's a reason why there's darkness. I'm in the dark because a lot of our Cowboy fans are in the dark, man. They're in the dark. They're in the dark because I just, for the love of me, don't really understand the metaphor. I don't understand the logic. I don't understand how you can place so much weight on one man's shoulders. It's so wrong, for one, because everyone knows between basketball, hockey, football, soccer, baseball, that it's a team sport. You know, it's a team sport in the sense that, you know, you can't put this on one man's shoulder. This, and I'm talking about Dak Prescott. I've been reading. I've read so much and just, you know, just at awe in terms of what is transpiring with our fans. I think we have the most. I think this is a fair take. I think we have the most. I'm not going to degrade our fans, and because I love our fans, I love Cowboy Nation. I love our fans. But one thing about it, I'm not going to degrade them, degrade us, and start using derogative or negative superlatives that would describe in a bad light, negative light, or a disrespectful light. You know, what the Cowboys, or how to describe our fans. I'm just not going to do that. Not going to do that. But what I will do is, what I will say is that we have the most, with all sincerity, we have the most. Let me put my loyalty on right quick, man. While I'm at it, let me put my loyalty on very, very quickly. Put my loyalty on, man. We have the most. divided. That's the word. We have the most divided. Because I'm gonna rep always. I'm going this right. The other way. Yeah. However, anyway, my locks are getting longer. Um, but we have the most divided fan base. The most divided fan base that I've seen in quite some time. So, uh, with that being said, you just really don't know how you can be so one-sided out of let's look at it like this. Um, oops. Let's look at it like this. I want to see. Uh, uh, let's see. Has there been a drop here? Because I mean, it doesn't make a difference. Um, it doesn't make a difference what that Prescott does, aside from a Super Bowl. I think a lot of fans think that we can just whistle in a quarterback from out of the air and be the franchise quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. One of the things that I look at in terms of our team that a lot of fans and a lot of people do not take into consideration is that to be the quarterback or to be a player, a superstar player, Michael Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, DeMarcus Ware, Tony Romo, Dak Prescott, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, DeMarco Murray, Marion Barber, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, um, Butch Johnson, Randy White, Harvey Martin, Ed Tutar Jones, Everson Walls, um, Michael Downs. Listen, it takes a certain player mentally, physically, emotionally. You have to be truly made up of the stuff to walk through those doors as a Dallas Cowboys player. And week after week, let's just start with one particular element: the fans, media, the criticisms therein that come from the fans alone. Roger wasn't the best. Danny White wasn't the best. Gary Hogaboom certainly wasn't the best. Quincy Carter wasn't the best. Troy Aikman didn't start off the best. Um, Tony Romo wasn't the best, although arguably Tony Romo has some very, very good numbers. And here we have Dak Prescott. Every quarterback that we have mentioned so far hasn't done a real good job, a very, very good job on a longevity scale. But even though that is the case, take this out, check this out. There's a pressure that comes along with being a Dallas Cowboy that that has to that you have to be placed at a certain level to be able to withstand the pressure that comes along. You have to be a certain caliber of player. And every player that has been placed in the position for the Dallas Cowboys from times past to moments present, who either had to be in the role as a running back, receiver, quarterback, and in some cases tight ends, handled the position relatively well. Now, we all know the reason why the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, could not win the chip for now going on 29 plus years. And it is because of ownership. Ownership. Success starts from the head down. Success starts from the head down. Okay? Let's look at Dak Prescott numbers. Let's look at his numbers. Last year was his highest. 2017 was the second highest. And 2019 was his third highest. And every time Dak Prescott, except for 2021, had a high interception rating, he came back and played flawless. His numbers are impeccable. His rating is at 105 this year, the highest of his career, aside from 2016 when he threw 104, with only 4 interceptions, and he had 3,667 yards. This year, Dak Prescott threw a whopping 4,516 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions, with a QBR of 105.9. And we think that we're going to find a quarterback that's just going to step in and take us to the Super Bowl, because one thing about it, you have to build continuity with a new quarterback with said team in order to even think about playoffs. When was the last time we had a quarterback that entered into the league that took a team to the Super Bowl or to the promised land less than 5 years? Well, I'll say less than 3 years, because you're looking at 2, Tom Brady and also Mahomes. And we're not just talking about going, we're talking about winning it. Going don't mean anything. I don't care. You went, you just wasted your time. You might as well should have let someone else go. You should have let somebody else go if that was the case, because the objective is to win. And whoever it did, I don't care. Jalen Hurts, I don't care. What is the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback name? I don't care. Okay? That doesn't matter. Jared Goff, I don't care. The objective is to win. You didn't win. But does that disqualify quarterbacks who went? Does that disqualify them from being the quarterback that can lead a football or that said football team to win a championship? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Um, one of my, I would say counterparts, but let's see if I can find it. It may be here. But he went off today. He went off. And not all would agree to not all would agree to Mark Holmes's rant, but nonetheless, it was a rant, and I in part appreciated it, because you kind of get tired of all of the Dak Prescott hate and all the Dak Prescott slander and disrespect. But Mark Holmes went in. Mark Holmes went in. I just want to hear a little bit of this rant from Mark Holmes. Some says, "Hey, take a break." I say, listen, check it out.
What's up, good people? Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I'm so tired of trying to fight the good fight. I don't know how to equate any better than what I have right now. Wade, Wade, I love you, bro. Wade, I love you, bro. Can't thank you enough about that time when I was down in Phil, against the Eagles and everything else, hanging out with you at the game and everything else. We had a ball. The Eagles kicked our ass, but still, it was great to meet you. And it's always great with all the stuff that you send me and things and all that. But I'm sorry, Wade, I cannot agree with you with the last statement where you say that the only times we won the Super Bowl was when we drafted a great quarterback, first-round quarterback. So first of all, let me say this. Roger Staubach was drafted in the 13th round.
That's actually
Roger Staubach was drafted in the 13th round of the NFL draft. He was not a first-round draft pick. Troy Aikman, yes, was.
Troy was one.
But for you to say that we just need a first-round quarterback to win the Super Bowl denigrates all of the great players those were on those teams. Sorry, bro. When you say the only reason why we are not a dynasty is because Dak Prescott is not drafted in the first round, says that Charles Haley, you didn't mean shit. Bob Lilly, you didn't mean shit. Mel Renfro, you didn't mean shit. Chuck Howley, you didn't mean shit. Tony Dorsett, Drew Pearson, and Too Tall Jones, none of you guys mean shit. Because it was only Roger fucking Staubach. That's literally what you guys are saying. That's literally what you guys are saying. That Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith, Eric Williams, Nate Newton, that none of those guys had anything to do with the Cowboys winning those Super Bowls. Let me ask you this. Real question. As you go through and constantly say it's just the quarterback, how many players on the Dallas Cowboys right now could start
What's up, Travis?
on either of those two dynasties? I'll wait. How many of
How you
those
doing, bro?
guys, how many of those Hall of Famers that were part of those teams do we have better than right now? I'll wait. Because last I checked,
Yeah, Marcus lit.
we had incredible players on what was called the Doomsday Defense.
Going in.
They were so good that they didn't name themselves the Hot Boys. They were named by the media Doomsday Defense. How many people on the current Dallas Cowboys team do we literally look at and call them a manster? Half man, half monster. That teams literally feared. How many? Way I look at it right now, Micah Parsons could probably be a starter. D-Law would probably be a backup. Who else on these teams? Now Diggs, maybe, if he's healthy. Out of the whole defense, take a look at some of the guys like Charlie Waters at safety. Look at some of the offensive linemen like Rayfield Wright. Come on, man. Look at some of the running backs like Tony Dorsett, Emmitt Smith. We do not have anything close to what those teams had. Nothing close to what they had. If you had a team, then I get it. The Cowboys were close against San Francisco. You're right, Wade. You're right. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that you don't seem to understand. You remember when we played the Giants and Emmitt Smith separated his shoulder? Did the Cowboys just say, you know what? We got this, Emmitt. Troy Aikman, he's going to win this game for us. No. The team was built on that running game. They needed their running back with a separated shoulder to continue to do the load. Why? Because they didn't have faith in the quarterback could win the game with his arm. And see, here's the thing. When you go into playoff games like we did against San Francisco and you said, hey, had Dak gotten that pass in there? When your lead running back has 26 yards, your quarterback has 21 yards running, your other back has like 22. You're putting everything on one guy. One guy. When you have just one target, like we had against San Francisco with CD, because your running back got injured, your other running back was missing in action, and you didn't have any other viable targets like other than Noah Brown and a Gimpy wide receiver, that's not what Roger Staubach had to work with going down to the Super Bowls. That's not what Troy Aikman had to work with going and winning those Super Bowls. And when you have to become one-dimensional, where it's either win or lose by the quarterback's arm, and the defense knows that, it's a lot harder on the quarterback to be able to make plays. That's the honest to God truth. Kansas City, Andy Reid's coming back. But do we honestly look and say, if it weren't for Kansas City's defense, Pat Mahomes. It wasn't for Kansas City's defense when Pat Mahomes threw the interception when they were down 10-0, stopping them, that they win that Super Bowl? You're going to tell me that without Pacheco picking up those hard yards in that game, that Kansas City wins that Super Bowl with just Pat Mahomes? No. And you cannot honestly look at what the Dallas Cowboys have right now and say that the talent level is as good as Kansas City. You can't say that the talent level the Dallas Cowboys have is as good as the 49ers.
I mean, Mark made some very, 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 very good points. This quarterback position down through the years for the Dallas Cowboys, and as I mentioned, Roger Staubach, Danny White, Gary Hogaboom, Steve Pelor, all the way up to Quincy Carter, and then we got Troy Aikman, and then, God knows we had a whole host of quarterbacks that have come through after that until we got to Romo, and then now Dak Prescott. If you don't have thick skin to deal with Cowboy fandom, the critics of the media, and in some cases, a lot of what takes place in the locker room, and then dealing with the fans by itself. I mean, it's a lot to deal with, and I would dare say that each of the guys that I mentioned, they handled it well. Be there as it may, if Danny White went to 11 or 12, 11 NFC Championship games and didn't get to the Super Bowl, but nonetheless, he handled it well. He handled whatever was dealt with him. He handled it well. A lot of our guys are handling it well, but where there's a crook in the road is when Cowboy Nation, we have to get on board. I think we are the only franchise that has fans that are totally at odds with each other, divided. I don't see any other team that has fans that's divided as much as Dallas Cowboys is. And I'm really going through my mind right now thinking of some. Now, some of Philly fans can be a little, they can be a little rough, but for the most part, they love green. That's the bottom line. At the end of the day, they love green. Will they get pissed because the team is not playing well? Oh, absolutely. You can believe they're gonna get pissed. But our fans, even when our players are playing well, and I just went over Dak Prescott's numbers a minute ago. He averaged over 4,000 plus yards this season, over 36 touchdowns, and a QBR of 105. I don't think that we're going to find another quarterback right now, either in the draft or in trade, that's going to put up those kind of numbers. We just can't find a quarterback and plug him into a system and think that quarterback is going to take us to the promised land within, because this is what the fans are giving the next quarterback. If that is the case, dude, we only giving you 2 years to get us to a Super Bowl, 2 years max. And I don't think that we're going to get it. I don't think we're going to get it out of a quarterback that's going to give us those kind of numbers, that kind of productivity, that kind of longevity. For Christ's sake, the guy almost broke his leg and came back and, man, put up some crazy numbers, even though he threw 15 interceptions. But that's because he was relying more on his arm than he would his legs, and he was afraid to run. But with that being said, I don't think we're going to find that kind of quarterback in the draft or via trade to get us to where we want to be in a Super Bowl. There's a lot of pieces that we need, especially since we got the Travis Frederick company online today. There's a lot of pieces that we need on that offensive line. We don't even know what the status is of Tyron Smith. We don't know if Tyler Biadasz is going to be with us, starting at least. Zach Martin is sub. Zach ain't going nowhere. We need Zach. And I wish we had Travis Frederick back. I mean, God, man, I miss that guy. But It's some pieces that we need on that offensive line to be that Nate Newton, that um, um, what is that? Mark Stepnoski, the whole offensive line during the '90s that we had. We need those guys, and those guys are 300 plus guys. You ain't moving them. Derek Kennard. We need those kind of guys on the offensive line to stop what has been gashing us on the running game. I mean, we take a look at when we got rid of Zeke. When we got rid of Zeke, to me, Zeke is still a proficient back. I think we got away with what made our running backs great. It wasn't necessarily individual talent because Emmett wasn't a fast guy. He wasn't a fast guy. DeMarco Murray wasn't a fast guy. Tony Dorsett was probably the only fastest guy that we had in the running back other than Herschel Walker, and that was just a grace in the skies that we got rid of him and the minds came together. Yeah. Oh, I'm with you with that. 100%. 100%. I'm with you with that 100% that we need to go offensive line early. Absolutely. Because Tyron Smith, man, is in bad shape. Nobody wants to talk about it. They want to skate around it. They even try to bring him back. He's in bad shape. That center position, I don't think he's ready for. I don't think he's that guy. He would now. Tyler Biotis was a beast in college. I don't know where that went when he got there. I don't know if he got the heart taken out of him in one of these games or what, but he's not been the same since he got in the league. And I followed Travis Fred. I followed Tyler Biotis. And that guy was a freight train in college. But now he's just like not even a shell of himself. I think he's pretty much unsure. I think he needs to be with somebody on either end that they can work as a unit in order for him to be effective. But he didn't have that. He didn't have that in college. He was just a force by himself. I remember he drove a guy like almost 10 yards down the field. I mean, it was brutal. But he's different now. And I totally agree. We do need to draft off an O-line early in the draft. The defense, I don't really like what I'm hearing in the defense as it relates to DeMarcus Lawrence. The Cowboys, from my understanding, is not going to franchise tag him. What does that mean, though, for DeMarcus Lawrence? Because clearly DeMarcus Lawrence is a practical shell of himself. He's not the same. Ever since he's gotten paid, he has not put up sack numbers. His pressures have been okay, but his sack numbers have quickly it dropped. It dropped dramatically. Michael Parsons is going to need somebody to help him either on the defensive line, either at nose tackle, or the position that I would love for the Cowboys to get big in, get strong, and get fast. A Ray Lewis kind of guy. They're going to need a linebacker. They're going to need a linebacker, a couple more pieces to go on that defensive front. We need some dogs, man. And from what I've seen in that game against the Green Bay Packers, that defense, I don't know who that defense was. I don't even recognize that defense all year. I do not recognize that. Did not recognize that defense. The first drive of the defense, the first drive of the game, the defense was done. I looked over at them, was looking at them at the bench. They were done. Done. Complete with me, spent. All life, energy, gone. And I said, this is going to be a tough game. This is going to be a bad game. And Dak Prescott is good. He's okay. I'm not saying he's a Joe Namath or Tom Brady, but Dak numbers is pretty good, but he's not the kind of quarterback even if you had Roger Staubach back there, there's no way without the help of the defense that he was going to come back and win that game. And we all know the Cowboys with Roger Staubach, they called him Captain Comeback because second half we knew we was going to come back and win the game. Even if we had Roger Staubach in his prime, Cowboys was not going to win the game. Two, we never found out what the issue was between Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. For that matter, we never found out what the issue was between Dak Prescott and Cobb, Brandon Cobb. We don't know. No one could connect. The only one that caught passes, and he's going to be out, was Gallup, Michael Gallup. Surprisingly, Michael Gallup. Once again, if you see me, I'm in the darkness because we got a lot of fans that's in the dark, and I'm not going to, like I said, disrespect our fans. I love our fans. Our fans, I think, are the greatest fans on earth. We are, but we do have some fans that they're looking for that miracle rainbow, whatever that is, in the quarterback position, and we just at this point in time, as it relates to money, the salary cap. Thanks, Jerry Jones, for 1994, but we couldn't help that. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah, I know. And that's a question because he drops some very, very important passes in some key moments. He drops some passes, and I just don't. I think it's lack of focus. It's lack of focus, partly lack of dog. I mean, you gotta. We're in the Dallas Cowboys is Hollywood. Dallas is Hollywood for football, and I think that sometimes the pressure of fandom, the pressure of the status to be a high profile player in Dallas gets to these guys. They didn't necessarily get to. I think Emmett embraced it. Michael embraced it. Yeah, I mean they did. They embraced the entertainment part of football in Dallas. 1980 said it best. They need to establish discipline first. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Dan Quinn did not have his part of the ball ready at the kickoff. Coming out of the tunnel, he did not. Did you see them come out the tunnel? They came out of the tunnel exhausted, like spent. Like, where were you spending your last 24 hours? We would love to be a fly on the wall or a camera in the room to find out exactly what was you doing 24 hours before kickoff, because they were not ready. And you're right, Dan Quinn and also Mike McCarthy should have had the team ready to go. Ready to go. I mean, this is it. Win or go home. This is it. And Mike McCarthy is in his third year, and he has people looking over his shoulder, such as Bill Belichick. Yeah. And Jerry and Bill, from my understanding, have a very, very good relationship. So, then also he has now Mike Zimmerman. He has to look over his shoulder at Mike Zimmerman because Mike Zimmerman is a bona fide head coach. He hasn't won a Super Bowl, but he's done well. His defense has always performed. I can't remember a time that Mike Zimmer defense did not perform. I can't recall. He always had a tough defense. He didn't have the best quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins, Teddy Bridgewater. Didn't have the best quarterbacks, but I tell you what, his defense performed. And if he can get this defense to perform half the way that his defense performed in Minnesota, I think that'll bode well for us going into this next season. But again, we need some pieces offensively and defensively. I looked at a few offensively minded players, especially in the center. And I got to do a little more extensive research on them. But these guys are strong. These guys that I looked at were some dogs. Um, and I'm sure that they're going to go high in the draft. So I think we're going to have to go right around maybe uh, round 2, early round 3 to try to find us a good offensive player, offensive line player that's going to help this team out. Now, I still like Tyler Smith. I still like Tyler. I think he's young, he's strong, he's learning. I think him being alongside of Tyron Smith helped him a lot. And that's another thing. When Tyron Smith got hurt, I don't know why they didn't put him on the left tackle position. Mike McCarthy. I don't know why he didn't do that, because you do remember that when Tyron Smith was hurt, Tyler Smith was the one that came in, and he did a phenomenal job. I get as many sacks and I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. For him to go back to linebacker where he can roam and be disruptive and be that guy that can remind you somewhat of a Ray Lewis, I love it. You know, Luke Kuechly, I love it. Do it. If they would do it, do it. Then you can go and get a bona fide defensive end on that right side. But you know, I would like for him to be back in that position, because that'll put so much fear in the running backs as well as the quarterbacks, because you don't know when he's going to drop back and when he's going to pressure. So that right there is an excellent idea. Whether they do it or not, Mike Zimmer may do it. They may be talking about it, but Micah Parsons said that he'll go wherever they need him. We shall see. And you do know him saying that is one thing, but him doing it is something different, especially if it's going to affect his bottom line, which is what a lot of these players nowadays are focused on the most, is their bottom line. Very seldom do you find a player that'll come into the league to say, I have a love for the game. Whether it's basketball, football, baseball guys are they're pretty decent. They're pretty sub in terms of their sport and what they and the love of it. But basketball and football players, it's about the money. And that's one thing that you can't argue with Michael Jordan about. You can't argue with Clyde Drexler about. When I look at their interviews, it's all about the money. Even Emmett alluded to it. Lawrence Telly alluded to it. Michael Irvin alluded to it. Even what's the quarterback? Dan Marino alluded to it. That these players these days are just in it for the money. Nobody wants to help build a franchise to win a Super Bowl. They're just in it for the money. I've never seen in all of my 54 years of living, players just walk away from the game after getting paid at the age of 23 and 24. Unbelievable. So Jimmy Johnson is back with the Dallas Cowboys. Jimmy's role is going to be, I would say, pretty much an overseer in the draft aspect for the Dallas Cowboys. He's coming on in that position to see things that Will is not seeing, see things that Jerry and Steven is not seeing, and get some pieces and get some guys in here. Because let me tell you, I would love to have me another Russell Maryland. The name that, when it comes to the Cowboys dynasty, he was a major important piece. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But this is just football. We're definitely in the pickle. That's for certain. But I would love that kind of guy, that kind of player, because he has a very, very unique and important role on the defense. to know what to do. You know, there's a lot of these guys that played nose tackle for the Dallas Cowboys as of late for the past couple of years. They didn't know how to figure out that position. They didn't know how to figure out the position to be effective and to use that piece as a very important piece for the defensive ends, for the tackles, and the linebackers to take advantage of his position because he controls everything for the most part. That guy. Russell Maryland is a player that comes along every once in a while. I'm just hoping that the Dallas Cowboys can find with Jimmy Johnson that once in a while player in a Russell Maryland that can make a difference in that defense, that centerpiece in the defense. So it's going to be very, very interesting his role moving forward to find out if Jimmy can to muster up that old-fashioned team mindset that we had in the 90s to get back on track to get us some dogs, man. I really, really do, Travis, miss the likes of Ken Norton Jr. Oh, man. When he and Dixon Edwards stood up, who was that we played? And they stood him up on the goal line. Was that Pittsburgh that he played? It might have been Pittsburgh or it might have been Buffalo. But, man, did he stand him up at the goal line. And after he stood him up and dropped him, he pounded his fist together, man, and looked at his sideline, was like, yeah, this is football. And that's what the Dallas Cowboys is missing, that kind of passion, that kind of dogship to get us in a position to be either heading to the Super Bowl or into the MC Championship game. It's a very, very important piece. So hopefully Jimmy Johnson can give us some kind of insight to give them the insight that they need to find these players. It's going to be interesting coming down because I'm trying to book my room now at the draft to find out if I can be part of that great fellowship down there. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all unfolds. I have my eyes in the draft on one particular. I know everybody's talking about the running back for the Titans. What is his name? His name escapes me. I'm bad with names, guys. Terrible with names. But the running back for the Titans, Derrick Henry. I know everyone is fastened their eyes on Derrick Henry, but I'm going to tell you, this guy, Benson, I'll have to put up to you exactly where college he's at. Trey Benson, is he reminds me of DeMarco Murray and Ricky Williams combined. Yeah, he reminds me of that. That guy is an animal. He is absolutely what the Cowboys need. Now, I don't know where he's going to go in the draft. I'm thinking probably around 5 or 6. But that would be, if he's there, I would think the Cowboys really need to go and get him to replace Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is a running back that is a slash back. He's a scat back. He's not a running between the tackles back. He's a back that you give tosses and pitches to. You want to put him in a screen set. He's that kind of running back. Now he's good, but he's not the bell cow that you need to wear defenses down. I.e., when Tony Pollard, for the second week in a row, was given the football in the 1-yard line. And we all know those plays. And when he could not get it in, it makes you feel a little uneasy knowing that we let go a bell cow that could have gotten it in. He may not have been the fastest. He may not have had the speed that he once had when he came into the league, hurtling over people. But let me tell you, when you have your offense on the 1-yard line and we need a touchdown to either win the game, to go ahead and put pressure on the opposing team, you need that bell cow. And the Dallas Cowboys didn't have that bell cow to get it done. Now, he did his best, but he just was too small. You need a running back
that's going to get it done. Now, granted, if we had a Derrick Henry, if we had a DeMarco Murray, we had a Zeke Elliott, oh, it would have been curtains for the opposing team. So we got our work cut out for us. As you said, we're just a pickle in a jar, and we definitely are. And hopefully we can get this thing turned around relatively soon. And hey, man, I'm going to come back in a little while. Give me about maybe 2 hours, and I'm coming back, and I want to talk about this draft. I want to talk about the running back. I want to talk about the centers, the center position, and the running back position. And we may dive into that linebacker position. And so if you can hold fast, be back in just a moment, and we can do this thing again, talking nothing but draft talk. I'm making sense. Travis, appreciate you, man. Hope you come back with me again, but if not, let's do it again, man. I appreciate you. Hey, God bless. Making sense. I'm Roll Sports. I'm out.